How does gratitude help us open our hearts to connect more deeply with community? Welcome to another episode of It's Her Turn. I'm your host, Dr. Kate Dow. So here we are, a couple days from Thanksgiving, and I just came into a deep connection with gratitude this morning, and I thought I'd come on and share about it. Because for me, the awareness of all of the changes and polarization and separation that we feel in the world right now, while we're all on this little planet swirling through the universe of this galaxy, just brings me a bit of grief and sadness. And I was in meditation wondering about how we can sit with this painful place of separation that we all experience. We all find these places of conflict or opposed opinions, um, opposed concerns about what's going on in the world, uh, perhaps different values, although I think in general, most of us probably have similar values. We come at them differently. And I came to gratitude, which when I wrote my book, Fearless, The Art of Using Anxiety to Your Advantage, was very powerful for me, recognizing this gift of gratitude that has come into my life at different times in my life more powerfully than others. And so in my book, I talk about it as the goddess domain. I, for those of you who don't know, in my book, I communicate about these dimensions of consciousness and that we have like our queen archetype, our heroine archetype, and our goddess archetype that we just all have and we can connect into and tune into more at different times in our lives. And for me, the goddess is a valuable place of it's sort of our doorway into our inherent spiritual connection, right? And gratitude is that aspect of coming into the moment, being able to let go of the future and the past and sit with where you are and finding those places that you recognize are such gifts. And they can be simple things like the beauty of the sun rising or the smile of a person that you love, or even thinking of people that you care about, or your favorite place in nature. It can just warm right into the heart space and it can bring us into that recognition of how valuable it is to feel that deep connection. And of course, the challenge is when we are struggling. How do we connect with that when we are struggling? Um, and I feel like this is where the spiritual side of gratitude comes in as a powerful teacher of, in Buddhist teachings, it's called bodhicitta heart, right? How we connect into that soft spot, that vulnerability that helps us move past the resistance of blocking the pain and just folding into the reality that you might be suffering in this moment and that you're not alone. There's many, many people on the planet who are possibly suffering just like you in the same way. And this cracks us open, right? Not only to feel our own suffering, but to also recognize that we're kind of all in this together. We're all suffering, and that transforms, right? Our heart has this ability to take that suffering and transform it into compassion. And of course, there's the practice of Tonglen that is in Tibetan Buddhism that is specifically about helping you elevate your awareness and suffering when you feel into not just, say, your grief, but you open to feeling all people's grief who are having that same kind of grief in this moment. And you breathe it into the heart space and you allow this amazing bodhicitta heart, awakened heart that knows how to alchemically shift that pain into this higher, light energy, peaceful energy that we send back out. So it's a prayer practice, it's a meditation, and it's a powerful one because when I've done it, right, it takes us out of, well, this is just my world and I'm struggling and nobody has that same situation as me and nobody understands, that way our thinking mind can get us into trouble and makes us feel more and more separate and more alone. And yet when we do this gratitude consciousness work, we recognize, oh, we're all in this, we're actually all doing the best that we can. And the Tonglen, you're breathing in that global experience of that grief, say, and then you're breathing out what you would wish for everyone to have, a moment of peace, a moment of connectedness or love, of support that you send out. And this is not a very I'm not trying to teach you that practice right now. I'm just sharing about it. So if you're interested, you could look up the Tonglen practice in Tibetan Buddhism. So from a goddess perspective, gratitude is that ability to move into that heart space, feeling that tenderness, feeling that fragility of being a human, and noticing the compassion that erupts through that, that automatically comes up and helps us move out of fear and anxiety and constriction and open to this spiritual wisdom, this feminine wisdom that we have that helps us show up and give thanks for what we do have. And sometimes when you're really struggling, that may be very small, like, I have this cup of coffee here. That's about it. That's what I can think I'm grateful for. And that's enough. That's enough because as soon as we do that, suddenly we might be like aware of other things we feel more grateful for. And then it builds and builds and it helps us move into this different energy, this able to see the bigger picture that the goddess wisdom helps us with, and to feel connected not only with, the earth beneath us, spirit, however we see spirit, power greater than us, but also each other, that we really are connected even when we don't believe we are. And that beyond our personalities, we do have this soul energy, we could say, this web of life, of everything and everybody having a specific place in that web of life. And this supports a different way that we can feel connected as well. That it doesn't mean we have to all agree. It doesn't mean we have to be on the same page, but that we tap into this medicine of gratitude of the goddess that helps us move through the fear and negativity and connect into the medicine and power of the heart to feel more joy, perhaps happiness at times, right? Nothing sticks, everything's always changing. So It doesn't mean we are going to suddenly arrive in happiness and stay there, right? But we know that we can touch into it. And that's the grace and power of gratitude, is it's a vehicle. It's a powerful vehicle. One of the quotes I have in my book under the chapter of gratitude is from Melanie Beattie, and I just love it. I'm going to share it with you. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It turns problems into gifts, failures into success, and mistakes into important events. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. I appreciate that quote because I think that's one of the hardest things as humans, right? When we're struggling, when we're hitting a limit, we're hitting a bottom, we're hitting a reality of perhaps old shadow trauma work that we need to do. It can be very painful. And we just want to sometimes give up, right? We just feel like it's just too hard. But the invitation is to utilize this goddess realm consciousness, this part of who we are, this archetypal spiritual awareness, to use these tools to help us access this different perspective. Because gratitude is so powerful. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. And even scientifically, it's been shown to help us regulate our emotions, to help us feel more so motivated, more connected socially with others, and bringing meaning, right? Bringing meaning into our lives. And those are parts of the things that help us balance the reality of human suffering. Is we can't always find meaning there, but we can find meaning perhaps in things that we feel grateful for, right? Feel gratitude about. Then they are meaningful because we've attributed this idea that this is valuable to me. This makes me feel connected. Uh, so for me today, I'm really grateful for my two children. They're adult kids, and I'm going to go visit them where they live. And because they're really busy, and I'm like, I'm going to go make this happen. They live in another state. And when I think of them and what we've come through together and just the journey of being their mother, I have such gratitude. Uh, it brings me like a very, very deep sense of appreciation and joy for life that I can lose touch when things are stressful, right? So one of the places I can go is think of my two children, and I can drop right into that bodhicitta heart, right? My heart gets warm. I can feel my sort of energy in my heart center expand, and my whole body starts to vibrate in this quality of love that I have for them. And that is like an automatic shift for me in my being and in my mindset and in my experience of my body as well. So it's like embodied experience. I want to say that. A lot of times people get into gratitude work, like gratitude journals, which I think are amazing, right? People have very positive results using a gratitude journal as a way to tap in every day. They might start the day or they may end the day thinking of things that they feel grateful for. And people have radical shifts happen as a result of this. So, this might be something you want to try if you haven't before. My encouragement is to not just have it be at a mental level, like, oh, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm just making my list, right? Because sometimes they'll say, like, come up with 10 things every day. And we can turn it into a mental exercise when it's so much more than that. Like I just shared with you, when I think of my children and my gratitude about having this experience with them in this lifetime, it's an embodied experience. I think about them, I feel the emotion that comes up, I connect in my heart center. I can feel that energy shift. It's it's a holistic experience, right? And so if you are, say, doing your gratitude journal, you might try taking that list that you come up with and then going back through each item, or maybe as you write them, you really think about it, you feel into the gratitude you have about that thing that you're writing down, and really take a moment to experience the sensations, possibly the visual images that come up, might even be sounds that are related for that thing that you have gratitude about. So really let it be a whole sensory experience. And then imagine like you're breathing it in. And then through that breath, you're cycling it through your bloodstream. And every cell is getting washed in that gratitude. And then do it for each one. And if you're not in a different place by the end of that, then maybe you're not in your body. So practice getting in your body and then do it. Um, because it's a very powerful experience to embody our gratitude. So let's connect a little bit about community, this idea of, if I touch into my bodhicitta heart, I connect with my gratitude of the goddess, and it helps me feel more present in the now. It also helps me feel more heart connection with other people and how they might be suffering, how we're all on this web of life together. Then how do we allow that, even if we feel those differences, we also can allow that connection? I've heard a lot of people talk about either political, the COVID stuff has created a lot of splits in their family. And sometimes that's just the wave we're on, and we're not going to be able to go change that. But know that deep beneath the waves is this connection that is never lost, right? If we think of it as the deeper ocean of energy, of spirit that we're all a part of, this web of life, that is always in place, no matter what is happening in our personalities and in our egos on the surface. So when you can do a bit of this practice of gratitude, we can allow ourselves to drop down under those waves of differences and feel into that sense of community that is always connecting us. And from there, we can send out prayer. We can send out blessings. We can send out a prayer for peace for all beings. We can feel into that aspect of compassion and imagine that it's going to everyone, no matter what their story is, what their splitting ideas are. We can still tap into that oneness underneath the waves of the waters and know we're all here doing the best we can, even if we don't agree, even if it looks very toxic and oppressive on the surface. This is deep indigenous wisdom that is sometimes difficult to wrap our heads around if we've not grown up with any exposure to that. This idea of oneness, this idea of being all part of this web that includes the earth, that includes all the elements, that includes each one of us. And from this place, it's an opportunity to know that even though things seem kind of broken or lost or disconnected, under the surface, they're not. And again, that might be challenging, but when we come into practicing that connection in our heart, that connection with the goddess, gratitude, wisdom, might be able to touch into that. You might be able to practice imagining your family being all one, even though there might be some people on either side on the surface. So just see what that's like for you, to notice that there's both realities, right? There's above the surface on the waves where things are maybe more chaotic. And then there's also under the water, deep, deep by the bottom of the ocean, that's very peaceful, that's very united, and see how that might support you. So, with this, I offer a blessing for your Thanksgiving or a holiday, however you celebrate it, and send you my best wishes and gratitude for being here. Um, I hope you take something that feels supportive for you to carry you through this week. And I would like to remind you that it's your turn to find your voice, own your truth, and claim your power. Thanks for being with me today. If you haven't had a chance, feel free to check out my book, Fear Less: The Art of Using Anxiety to Your Advantage, where you can hear more about the goddess and the whole last section on spirit. And I'll catch you soon.